Well, it's all very well and good, isn't it? All these promised infrastructure projects and post-COVID-19 recovery in terms of biodiversity and planting of native trees across our country. But are we in a position to be able to deliver? Have we got the nurseries, the supply of native seedlings? We certainly do have the demand. We're joined now by Chief Executive of New Zealand Plant Producers, Matthew Dolan. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Sarah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Now, hey, I mean, it's it's a bit of a good monster, isn't it, to have a lot of government funding flooding in to your sector. But have we really got the capability coming through? And what are those challenges to get to a point where we can supply that demand?
Yeah, well, it's not a bad problem to have, I guess, for a sector. To have this wall of demand ahead of it that we're seeing, and there's a lot of drivers to it. It's it's a transition towards more plants on farms and on land. Big infrastructure projects the government is investing in, and and environmental improvements on land right across the board, whether it be council land, whether it be farms, and in the environment in general. It's a lot of it seems to be pointing towards native plants suddenly. And so our sector's got a real challenge ahead of it to step up and meet that demand.
Yeah, let's start from the seed and work our way up. It's not that simple to harvest. Could you give us a bit of an understanding of what's involved to create a native nursery effectively overnight?
Yeah, well, it's not as easy as it might seem. It's certainly not a hobby, and it's not for the faint-hearted. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of skill involved in native plant production. And like starting with the seed, it's very, I guess it's difficult. It's one of the most difficult parts of native plant production is getting hold of the seed. A lot of these species, they set seed in different years. Sometimes they'll set no seed. Other times they'll have a mast, and you've got more seed than you can deal with. Different species have seed maturing at different times of year. And it's the skill of plant producers to get out and know what's going on and know where to collect seed at any one time and be able to collect enough to produce the plants that they need.
And of course, in comparison to our pine plantations that grow at a rapid pace, these seedlings take a lot longer to grow to a mature fact for planting, and some of these very harsh conditions as well. I know a lot of native plants have been planted in areas that we haven't had that long heirloom heritage of knowledge to know what tree goes where in this country as well.
Yeah, well, they say it was quite easy to take the trees down. It's very, very hard to put them back again, and it's a massive challenge to know, what plants go where, what species thrive in different areas, and where you get the improvements with different species. So that once again, it comes back to just that knowledge that as a country, as an industry, we need to really build and utilise.
How closely do you work with the forestry sector, Matthew? I was listening to an awesome interview on national radio, actually, of a group of researchers and scientists here at Lincoln University that wanted to work closely with them for, in particular, fire breaks. And here on the Port Hills in Lincoln, a massive issue. Is there a way of having a combination of both?
Oh, look, it is about getting the right plants and the right mix of plants in the right place for the right use. Native plants certainly have their role in ecology and environmental improvement, but they're part of land use, and how they're used is to their best advantage. That's where the expertise and the creativity comes into it. This is where we need the landscape architects, the botanists, the ecologists, and the farmers and landowners to get involved and start talking about how we use native plants and all sorts of plants in the environment and on the land.
I note here in this wonderful article that Richard Rennie has written here for Farmers Weekly about this, so you can check it out in your latest Farmers Weekly, is around that lost skill of nursery training. And I come from a mother who was horticulturally trained out of Otago Polytech in Cromwell, what, rather than money, is needed to be able to harness this horticultural education and training in your mind?
Yeah, well, there's plenty of people that want to work with plants. It's popular among young people, and it's really meaningful work. One of the challenges we have is that it's not a sector that's really had that investment in training and education over about 20 years, to be honest. And we're working pretty hard to try and re-establish some of those training programs and those qualifications. But it's also about that pipeline of bringing people into the industry and seeing that they have a viable career, and it's worth building their skills and developing themselves in our industry.
Have you seen in particular a swing we've seen in mainstream media over the last couple of days with the highlight on News Hub of particularly Climate Change Minister James Shaw as biodiversity credits swinging even further in support of native trees over pine?
Oh, yeah, we don't see it as an either or. We kind of see it as an and. And native plants, I guess if you look at it from carbon point of view, they don't suck up as much carbon as radiata. They suck up about a third of the carbon, but they have other benefits in terms of ecology and water quality and other benefits, which at the moment don't have those hard metrics that you can refer to. And, you can start to make benefits towards native plants, but it's got to be based on science. It's got to be based on some proper metrics that can be used for the credibility of the projects.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Matthew Dolan, for taking the time to join us. He's the Chief Executive of the New Zealand Plant Producers.
This is Sarah's Country.